Hello. I want to start by reading a post someone recently shared. It's incredibly brave and it deserves our full attention. They wrote, I am in a very serious mental state after a relationship of abuse from loved ones and at work, which lasted several years. I can't sleep, I suffer from depression, nightmares, PTSD, in general, very strong anxiety. My self-esteem has collapsed, I feel afraid of everything new, I can't stabilize my nervous system and stop feeling afraid, thinking about something else. I'm afraid that I will never be able to recover and get back on my feet. Please give me advice on how to stabilize myself, as well as what kind of therapy is appropriate after a relationship related to mental abuse.
Okay, first things first. Let's be really clear about something. Everything just described in that post, the sleepless nights, the constant anxiety, that feeling of pervasive fear, it's not just understandable. It's what a nervous system does when it's been under a prolonged state of threat for a very, very long time. And this is so important to grasp right at the beginning. This does not mean you are broken. Not at all. It means you have been under an absolutely immense amount of pressure. Your entire system did exactly what it needed to do to help you survive. The exhaustion, the anxiety, the nightmares, these are the aftershocks of that survival effort. Recovery is definitely possible, but it has to be approached in a really specific way. So, that brings us to the first and, honestly, the most critical phase of healing, stabilization. See, before you can even begin to process the trauma, you have to help your body and your nervous system understand that the immediate danger is over. The goal right now isn't to fix everything at once, it's just to create little islands of calm and safety in the here and now. Now, you might look at these and think they're too simple, but they're powerful because they speak your body's language. For instance, when you make your exhale longer than your inhale, you're literally flipping a switch in your nervous system, activating the part that says, it's okay to relax. Splashing cold water on your face? That triggers something called the dive reflex, which automatically slows your heart rate. It's all about sending gentle, repeated signals to your brain that say, the threat is gone, you are safe in this moment. Of course, there are going to be those moments when panic or a horrible memory just hits you like a tidal wave, right? And it feels like it's pulling you right back into the past. In those moments, your most powerful tool is finding a way to yank yourself back into the present. And that is where a tool like the 5-4-3-2-1 technique is an absolute lifesaver. It works by essentially hijacking your brain. It forces you to switch from the emotional, panic-driven part of your brain to the logical, observational part. By deliberately naming what's around you, the texture of the blanket, the hum of the fridge, the exact shade of blue of that cup, you are literally pulling your mind out of the chaos of the past and anchoring it in the solid reality of right now. Okay, so once you have some of these basic tools to manage the day-to-day, the next phase is finding the right kind of professional support. And this is key. After this kind of experience, not just any therapy is going to cut it. You really need someone who specializes in the unique impact of trauma. You're going to want to look for this term, trauma-informed care. And it's not just a buzzword, I promise. It means finding a therapist who gets it. They understand that your symptoms aren't a sign of weakness. They're adaptations for survival. A trauma-informed therapist will always prioritize making you feel safe before anything else. And they'll never push you to talk about things before you're ready. And there are some really effective, research-backed therapies for this kind of work. You've got things like EMDR and somatic experiencing, which are incredible because they work directly with how trauma gets stuck in the body and nervous system. And then there are others like schema therapy, which are fantastic for rebuilding that sense of self-worth that gets so beaten down by psychological abuse. Now, I need you to hear this part very clearly. This is a big one. A good trauma therapist will spend the first chunk of your time together doing exactly what we talked about in phase 1. Helping you build up your toolbox for feeling safe and grounded. If you meet a therapist who wants to dive right into all the painful memories on day 1, that's a red flag. Digging in too soon can actually re-traumatize you and make things a whole lot worse. All right, let's talk about phase 3. This is the deeper, longer-term work. Because you see, psychological abuse does more than just make you feel afraid. It's a systematic process that chips away at your identity, your trust in your own judgment, and your fundamental sense of worth. And after all that chipping away, what's often left is this one core belief. It's a thought that so many survivors carry, this deep, heavy conviction that, somehow, I am the problem. It feels like the truest thing in the world.
but it isn't the truth. It's the voice of the abuse that you've been forced to internalize. It's like a recording that's been put on a loop inside your head. A massive part of healing is learning to recognize that voice for what it is, an echo from the past, and separating it from who you really are. So how in the world do you start to rebuild? Well, it's not about some huge, grand gesture. It starts with the basics. First, creating a truly safe environment. Then, reestablishing a sense of control, even through tiny choices that are 100% yours. And then, setting very, very small, achievable goals. We're not talking about climbing a mountain. We're talking about making yourself a cup of tea or going for a 5-minute walk. Each tiny success is like laying a new brick in the foundation of self-trust. That fear from the original post, that terrifying thought that you'll never recover, that's one of the cruelest parts of trauma. It rewires your brain to see danger everywhere and to believe that the future is just more of the same pain. But here's the scientific reality, and it's incredibly hopeful. Our brains are plastic. They have something called neuroplasticity. That means they can, and they do, change and form new pathways. Your brain can heal. This brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most important question of all. And this is for the person who wrote the post and for anyone else listening who recognizes their own story here. Are you in a safe environment right now? Has the abuse actually stopped? And I cannot stress this enough. This is completely non-negotiable. Because if the threat is still active, your nervous system simply cannot stand down. It's impossible. It will stay in survival mode. In that case, your first priority isn't therapy. It's not breathing exercises. It's protection. It's getting to safety. The real healing can only begin once the threat is over. So let's end right here with the most important thing to take away from all of this. To the person who wrote that post, and to anyone out there who feels that same way, you are not broken. You are overwhelmed. You are carrying the heavy weight of a nervous system that has worked tirelessly to keep you alive. That exhaustion you feel is real. That fear is real. But it is not a life sentence. With the right tools, with the right support, and with a whole lot of kindness towards yourself, this can be healed.